the green gizzard, the live river shad, and the silver all have that full side. That is what I like in clear water, especially a bright sky day. When you've got that sun out, you know, you've got that full to reflect that and give that nice shad kind of sheen is what I would call it, you know, where it flashes back, rolling into that sunshine. So those full-sided baits work really, really well under clear water, bright sunny skies especially. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Odds Garage video for this week. And something that we had did with Slim when it was first coming out was really walk through rod and reel setup, walk through color selection. We're doing the same thing with Tiny, and we'll do the same thing with the bait that's going to be coming next that I'm not going to tell you the name of just yet. But we're going to do that with that as well. And part of that is I just want to help you all understand. I mean, there's a lot of colors to pick from. You know, there's a lot of different rod and reels out there, but I just want to help you all learn the way that I have, you know, kind of my system for using these baits and picking colors. But then feel free to, you know, to tweak that for however you like to fish, where you live at, where you fish at, and, you know, kind of adjust it for that. So one thing with Tiny, we added some new colors into the OG lineup. I added those into Tiny as well as Slim. Who knows, maybe in a year or two they'll be in the DT and some other baits. That would be awesome. But right now, we've got 5 new colors that are in the Tiny and Slim as well. So going to go through with Tiny at this point, that gives us 19 colors. So that's a whole bunch of stuff to be able to pick from when you go to Bass Pro Shops. It's a pretty good assortment of stuff. I've kind of got them sorted out here. I've got shad colors, which I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 shad colors. I've got what I'm going to call my crawdad colors. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crawdad colors, and then really 4 that I would put into the chartreuse kind of bait fish type color pattern. Some of the crawfish ones, you know, have got some chartreuse in them, but definitely have that crawdad pattern. The only outlier with that is the original CW, which is what I would call a crawdad color, but yet it has gills and scales and a shad pattern on it. I've never really understood that one when it was in the Shad Wrap lineup, but it catches a lot of fish. So I had to have it in my OG line exactly the way that it was. There was no reason to alter that color any because it just catches so many. I don't know if the bass understand what it's supposed to be, but they definitely bite it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through and pick, I don't know how many I'm going to pick right now, to be quite honest. Looking at these, it's kind of hard to pick out some favorites, but really I'll probably try to pick a couple from each group of what I would call a couple bait fish colors, a couple of the crawfish colors, and a couple of the really, you know, chartreuse family type colors that are some of my favorites, just the way I like to fish. But again, you know, apply this to wherever you live, the type of bait fish that you live around and fish around for the most time, and you know, apply it to your local fishery. So let's start with the bait fish colors. I'm going to go with, honestly, looking at it right now, I'm going to go with kind of both ends of the spectrum. So one for me that is probably my favorite, it is my single favorite bait fish color in clear water, and that's that green gizzard shad. I love that. And Tiny, that's a color that we did put in the DTs as well last year, maybe the year before. But that green gizzard is just a dynamite color. And you know, that fairly clear water. I've caught fish on it in pretty stained water, but it has a lot of reflection to it with that full that's underneath there. But we put a heavy green iridescent over the sides as well as the back. Those little chartreuse shoulders, a big, you know, big obvious bait dot on that. It doesn't have any kind of a throat burst. We didn't want it to have one. If you ever wanted to add a little bit of red to the throat or add a red gill plate, man, you could do that so easy with a Sharpie. Just add a little bit of red under that bait. You know, I'm always customizing baits and stuff a little bit. I haven't done that on this one, but it definitely is an easy way to, you know, to modify that bait a little bit and just give it a little more flash if you think it needs it. But green gizzard is definitely my favorite clear water shad color. And if you look at these, the green gizzard, the live river shad, and the silver all have that full side. That is what I like in clear water, especially a bright sky day. When you've got that sun out, you know, you've got that full to reflect that and give that nice shad kind of sheen is what I would call it, you know, where it flashes back, rolling into that sunshine. So those full-sided baits work really, really well under clear water, bright sunny skies especially. Is when that full seems to shine for me. So we've got citrus shad, of course, big shad, which would seem like an obvious one to choose. One of the new ones is that copper green shad. That's a dynamite color that we've added to the OG line, but copper green shad is an excellent one. Helsinki shad is great, but man, that old original shad, if I'm in fairly dirty water, off-colored water, and I want a bait fish color, this is the one I go with. That old original shad has such a great pearly side that it really catches a lot of flash in that off-colored water. Whether you've got sunny skies or not, it really just shows up extremely well. And then the back, this may sound kind of funny to say, but the back isn't extremely dark. So you've got enough there to contrast, and it's really a green, you know, kind of a green back. But you've got enough there that really makes a good contrast. But if you've ever paid a lot of attention in off-colored water, especially water that's been dirty a long time, those bait fish tend to kind of pale out. The bass do as well. They lose some of their coloration. They're not as dark colored as what they were, you know, when that water's really clear. They've got a really pretty stripe on their back. But when they start not getting as much sunshine in off-colored water, that back gets a little bit lighter. And, you know, this to me really imitates that extremely well. I've done it before. I had baits that were custom painted that we would use when the water was extremely muddy, that were pearl white, that had no back color whatsoever. They were just straight white. And we caught a lot of fish on those at times when that water was really, really muddy. So that is kind of for me, what I think would surprise a lot of people, just how effective that original shad color is in very off-colored water. Definitely one of my favorites. That gives us two shad colors that we've got picked out there now. We'll do, I think we'll jump over to what I would call the Chartreuse bait fish, you know, just the Chartreuse kind of collection side of it. The easy first choice for me is that hot copper green shad, and part of that was just how good this particular bait. We'll get up close on it and show you, but this particular bait has some major battle scars on it. Man, this one up at Lake Champlain this year in the Bass Pro Tour was dynamite, and that was a very odd place at a very odd time, in my opinion, to catch fish on tiny. It was August on Lake Champlain, but I was fishing very muddy water, and man, I was wearing them out on slim and tiny. But it was that was a very surprising place for me to catch them like I did. But that bait worked extremely well up there. This one caught a lot of fish and caught some really big ones. But it's just a good. It's not a super gaudy, not a real bright chartreuse like take chartreuse root beer. I mean, that's a bright chartreuse, and it has its time and place. But I like that kind of faded chartreuse that hot copper green shad has on it. But then it does have a really good contrast with the back. It goes up into that green and into that really kind of a drab brown back on it that, you know, just this adds a lot to that contrast when you're fishing in that really off-colored water. And that one has, man, I have absolutely mauled them on that one. The pumpkin seed is one that definitely, that's a new one for this year as well. And if any of you all ever fished on the Coosa River chain down in Alabama, this is no surprise to you. A lot of folks may look at that and say, what in the world were you all trying to do? For the people that know, it's one of those, if you know, you know. That is a dynamite little color. In a classic several years ago in Gunnersville, I had some DT6s painted that color, and they did me quite well. So yeah, hot copper green shad would probably be my first one, and then the other new one is that brim color, and that was one that in slim I used at the Harris chain this year. When I won down there, was in that brim color, was really, really good to me there. But that's just it's a really pretty color, man. It turned out exceptionally well. It's got that pearl belly, a little bit of orange throat burst, kind of yellow, some blue, green, brown. That is a dynamite color. So if I was going to pick two in the chartreuse, it'd be the hot copper green shad, and brim would be those two. Moving on, I'm going to finish it up with the crawdad colors. you can't go into that crawdad realm and not have a red one. That classic crawl is my favorite of the two red ones. A lot of folks really like that red crawdad, and it is definitely a fish catcher. And you know, I know a lot of people that catch a ton of fish on that, and DTs and shad wraps and everything else. It's a little bit brighter red, a little bit more, I would call it fluorescent red, where classic crawl has kind of that, just a deeper red tint to it, a little bit of gold and some orange on the belly. And obviously I like that one pretty well because that was the color of that Arashi vibe that I was sharpieing up when I won the Classic. So Classic Crawl would be one of my picks in the crawdad lineup. Very last one, finish it up. I'm looking at a couple different ones here, but I'm gonna go with the old school CW, just the old school crawdad. Again, that one he's kind of confused. He's got shad pattern on him. He's got a gill plate. He's got a fin, but it's a crawdad color. is definitely what that is. And that just those hues of that orange belly, that kind of copper side, brown back. Man, that I've caught them on lakes when it had 8 foot of visibility on this color. I've caught them where I had 8 inches of visibility on this color. It is just there's no wrong time to throw that original CW. So if you're ever confused, but you think they're on a crawdad pattern at all, you can throw that one, and it's probably going to work for you. So I hope that kind of helps you pick through some of these. Like I said, man, they're all fantastic colors. They all have their time and place. I've got 3 or 4 of every single one of them in my box right here. That way I'm always prepared for any situation. But yeah, let me know in the comments once you've got some of these and you've got to fish them a little bit, which ones have been working for you, where they've been working for you at. And I'll be interested to hear, you know, when you've used them in situations that may have been different from when I would have, and you were successful with it. So that's a great thing about it. You know, you can take a bait and make it your own and fish it in a different situation from somebody else. So thanks for watching. Come back to the garage in a couple weeks.